Hey everyone, welcome to PunkCast. My name is William Maxwell. I'm a student of Web3 and the owner of Punk853. CryptoPunks are 10,000 uniquely generated characters stored permanently on the Ethereum blockchain. No punk is the same. This is a show dedicated to celebrating the punks behind the punk. My hope for this podcast is that we capture the essence of the punk culture, elevate the brand and the individual behind the punk. One last thing. Projects discussed on the show is not financial advice. Crypto and NFTs are a volatile and risky asset class. Please always do your own research. Other than that, let's go. Good morning, everyone. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of PunkCast. Today, we're back with Punk853. He's a dev punk with 3 attributes: mustache, knitted cap, and regular shades. In real life, he's an ex-NFL pro and 2-sport college athlete at UNC, basketballer and also footballer, now turned investor and NFT collector. Please welcome Flick to the show. Flick, my brother from another mother. How are you, man?
What's up, man? I appreciate the intro.
Wait, I gotta say, it's nice to chat to another punk that's got good taste in attributes. A mustache, knitted cap. Yeah, you look mighty fine.
Oh yeah, bro. Orange cap game.
Mate, it was nice catching up with you briefly in New York for NFT NYC with a few other punks there too, and it was just intrigued by your story too. I think NFT Stats sort of introduced us and introduced you straight away as the pro sports guy that played 2 sports in college. So I'd love to sort of get into that story with you.
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Well, why don't you start us off with, I guess your handle, like why Flick, and I also noticed Capital Swish as well. Like, how did you come up with those names?
Yeah, basketball is my favorite sport, so everything I do, I try to reference basketball. So Flick is just like shooting the basketball, like flick your wrist. So that's kind of how I came up with the name Flick. And Capital Swish is, when you shoot the ball, it's a swish. So Capital Swish. So that's kind of where it all stems from, just my love of basketball.
Gotcha. All net. Nice. All right. Well, kick us off into your story, man. I'd love to sort of, hear how it all started. I mean, where did you grow up? How did you sort of find your way into sports? Everything sort of leading up before crypto.
I'm an athlete, so sports has been basically my whole life. But yeah, man, I played in the NFL. About 3 or 4 years, I was drafted by the St. Louis Rams. So I was there for like a year and a half. And then I played for the Jets for a couple of weeks. And then I bounced over to the Miami Dolphins for about a year and a half. So had a great time, but it was kind of short. But I did that, and then in college I was a 2-sport athlete. Like I said, basketball is my favorite sport. So, but I wasn't tall. Like I was only 6'1". Playing basketball, you need to be like 6'6", 6'7", unless you're like a Steph Curry to go to the next level. So I was like, okay, I got a better shot at playing football, being 6'1". So I decided to play football, even though basketball is my love. So that's kind of my background. I grew up in South Carolina, went to school at the University of North Carolina, Tar Heels. So yeah, sports has been my entire life up until I was about 26, 27. And then when I got done playing, I was like, okay, I got to figure out, what I'm going to do next. I've always been a business entrepreneur type person. So, I knew I wanted to do something. So when I got done playing ball, I went back to school and got my MBA in finance. So once I got into finance, that's kind of how I found out about Bitcoin, because I was really my interest was really real estate finance. I really love like real estate, commercial real estate underwriting commercial real estate deals. And I was just messing around, and I somehow went to a podcast and I found out about Bitcoin. I was like, oh, Bitcoin is, this makes perfect sense. Like Bitcoin is there for the future. This is probably like 2014, 2015. So that's kind of how I got into the crypto space. So ever since 2015.
Ah, super cool, man. Well, let's go back a little bit too. I mean, growing up, like, how did you sort of get into sports? Like, what of all the things you could have chosen, how, how did you sort of find your way into basketball and football? Do you have siblings, or was it just this area you sort of grew up in? Parents?
Yeah, my dad, he loved sports. He was a big basketball guy. But just growing up playing with your friends in the neighborhood, you play all sports. So I mean, baseball was the first sport that I played. I played baseball probably when I started, like, when I was 4 or 5, and then of course I played basketball in, like, my neighborhood. And actually, my cousin, I watched football with my cousin, my older cousin. He was playing football, so I went to a lot of his games, and I told my parents I want to play football too. So I think I was like 7 when I started playing football. So I've always played a ton of sports. Just growing up, that's just kind of like what you do. Where I'm from, you just play sports, and I was super athletic, super fast, always one of the best players, all the way up. Like, everybody always told me I was special, that I was, So my dream was always to go to the NBA. Like, basketball is my love, so I always wanted to go to the NBA. I never thought about playing in the NFL. It was just, I just played football and I was good at it. And I traveled. I played AAU basketball. Uh, just played sports for my entire life, all the way up. And when I got in high school, I started getting heavily recruited. I was like top basketball player in the state, top football player in the state. Then I kind of stopped playing baseball. I couldn't hit a curveball. Like, the curveball was throwing me off, so I kind of dropped baseball in ninth grade, and so I kind of stuck with football and basketball. And I was just really, really good at both sports. And I got recruited from all colleges, pretty much all over. I could pretty much go to any college I wanted to for both sports. And I mean, that was the thing too. Like, the college I went to, I told them I want to play both sports because I was good at both. Like, I wasn't ready to give one of them up yet. Even though basketball is my love, I wasn't ready to give up a sport yet. So I think I went to like 4 or 5 different schools. Like, recruit. I think I went to Maryland. I think I went to Clemson, Kentucky. It was a lot of schools I went to, but Michael Jordan was always my guy. Like, I always looked up to Michael Jordan. Everybody wants to be like Mike. And I love the UNC colors. So,
Yeah,
like, playing basketball at the University of North Carolina was like really my dream. So, I decided to go. I decided to go there, and it was only like 3 hours from my hometown. So I said, let's go.
crazy. Man, so like, how often were you playing sports? Like growing up, but like, was it daily? Were you putting hours in? I mean, and how were you sort of thinking about which sports to master your craft in, or did you see similarities between them at all? I mean, like playing both sports at a very high level must have been pretty hard, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was just something that we did around the neighborhood. You just play sports, and then, so I played every day. Every day, I played some sport. Like, my parents had me all over the place. Like, we were traveling around everywhere playing sports, and in the summertime we would travel to different locations and play summer ball and summer camp. And I was good. Like, I was just really, really good. I think I was 13 when I first dunked the basketball. Like, I was just a crazy, crazy, super crazy
Crazy.
athlete. Just like, and I was so much bigger than everybody. So I mean, it was just very easy to see that I was going to go professional if I did all the right things and stay out of trouble and kept growing because I was bigger than everybody. So it wasn't too hard to see that I had the potential to go play professional somewhere. So it's just, and I loved it. And then all my friends played, so we just rolled with it, and that was my life.
Crazy. How tall are you, Flick?
I'm 6'1", 6'2".
Crazy. And you were dunking at 14. Yeah, I remember taking a photo with you, Jordan Lyle, I think, and another couple other punks. I think you were sitting down, and I was probably still shorter than you whilst I was sitting down. So, yeah, vertically challenged. Um, so you had a deep passion for basketball. Then how did you end up in football then?
I don't know. I just like playing. I guess I like the physicality of it. I can't remember who my favorite football player was growing up when I was a kid, but I just grew up playing, watching football, so I wanted to play. And like I say, all my friends played, so you're competitive, so you want to get out there and play. And once I started playing, I liked the adrenaline rush. I was good. Um, Even though I didn't really like hitting, I just like scoring touchdowns. That's what I would say. I enjoy scoring touchdowns. So growing up, I played running back, and then once I uh kind of saw that I was kind of like too big to play a running back, like my style was more of a wide receiver. I moved up to a wide receiver, and in the ninth grade, I was playing varsity. I was playing and like I said, I've always played with older kids. Like my cousins were older, a lot of my friends were older, so I was always around older kids. And my dad, he always had me around, like playing basketball with his friends. So I was playing basketball with older men, just because I was their same size. Like I just grew fast. So, and I just knew I was going to be 6'6", because like I said, I was 6'1" when I was 12, 13. So I knew I was going to be 6'6" or 6'7". So that was kind of like what I was banking on. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be tall. But once I got about 14, I just stopped growing. I just stopped growing. And yeah, it was, so that's why I was like, okay, I might have a better shot at playing football. And that's why I wanted to kind of like, play both. So I could kind of choose which one I wanted to do.
That's crazy. Mate, it just reminds me of that ESPN documentary that another two-sport athlete, I think it was, what was his name now? Bo Jackson. That guy
Oh
was
yeah.
athletic freak too, man. Like insane. So
And Bo Jackson is the next level.
yeah, super talented. And then okay, so then you what a sort of fantastic career, man. And then you came out of basketball and pro football. What made you decide to pick up the books again and do an MBA?
I've always been into like business. My dad always had his own business. So when I was younger, I always knew I wanted to like do something kind of on my own, some type of business. I didn't know what. I've always had some type of hustle. Like I was always selling something, or like I remember in high school, I used to like burn CDs and sell CDs, and I don't know. I just enjoyed, I guess, meeting people, talking to people, creating something and selling it. I just really enjoy that for whatever reason. So I've always had that type of mentality with business. So I did go to undergrad for economics and like business management. In undergrad, I studied, economy, economics, and try to learn more about that when I could, and like business management, how to like manage people, and like kind of like sociology, like understanding how people kind of work. So I did take a bunch of undergrad, because I was always taught to like have a backup plan, because you never know if you can make it pro, and if you do make it pro, it's going to be very short. So I was always taught to have something, a plan B, so to speak. So that was kind of always in the back of my mind when I got done playing. I knew I would get into business. So that's kind of how it was, and I was actually glad. Once I got done playing sports, I was like, okay, cool. Now I get to find my next passion, which was business and finance, and learn about all that stuff. So now that I had free time, so that's what I did. I went back to school at University of Miami, and I started studying finance and like business. And like I said, I got into the commercial real estate is what I kind of fell into. I really enjoyed like analyzing the value of a commercial building, and started trying to invest in commercial real estate. And I was doing internships with these different companies, trying to learn how to value a multifamily building or a retail building. And I bumped into Bitcoin. I bumped into crypto, and yeah, that was the start of that. And I was like, oh wow, this is the future. Because I was reading a ton of like finance history books, like understanding money and understanding the history of finance and all this history stuff of money. And when I found Bitcoin, I was like, this makes total sense. Like, this is definitely the future. So I want to, learn about Bitcoin. But at the time, it was more technical. Like, it was a bunch of tech people. So I didn't really understand the tech side, and I wasn't prepared to like start studying the tech side yet. So I would just buy Bitcoin.
So you bought, you started buying Bitcoin how early?
2015 is when uh I was trying to get it on Binance. But I didn't, like I said, I wasn't a trader and I was brand new to it, so I couldn't figure out how to get it on Binance. So I ran into Coinbase and I was able to get it on Coinbase. And I think at the time it was probably like around 1200. It was around $1,200 at the time. So and then I was telling all my friends about it. And like I said, this was like 2015, 2016. And trying to explain Bitcoin was very hard, and people looked at me like I was crazy. Uh, like the world was going to end. I was trying to explain it like it's not like that, but I had a few buddies. Me and him would trade it. We would get into it, but yeah, it was really hard to understand it, and I didn't. And for me, there was no community aspect because I wasn't on Twitter. Uh, like I said, I was coming from the sports world, which is like not real life. So I had no way to kind of like I couldn't find crypto people at all, and like I said, everybody was tech. So I was just buying it. I was just buying it like a stock. Like that's kind of how I looked at it. You just buy it and you keep doing what you were doing. So I was just buying a little bit on the side. Just didn't think nothing of it for the most part. Um, but I knew I needed to understand blockchain. But like I said, I was into commercial real estate. So what I was doing was I was trying to get my commercial real estate friends to buy commercial real estate using Bitcoin. That's what I was doing. I was more so trying to find an intersection of Bitcoin or blockchain and real estate. But it was just way too early, and the real estate moves so slow. So that intersection was just not ready for it. So that's where I was at.
Why were you trying to do that, Flick? Like, what was the thinking behind
Because
that?
because the real estate, the real estate is a old school, super slow game. Like they're so behind on everything. I'm like, yo, if y'all can just learn how to use this blockchain, like it'll make real estate way better. But like I said, it's the crowd is a lot older, like 50, 60 and up. And they have all the money, and a little young guy coming in trying to tell them about this or that, or trying to tell my friends about all this stuff. They didn't care, they didn't get it. So it was kind of like just a tough place to be. I seen a few people that were pushing it, but it was just tough. Like running this, and still to this day, real estate is still like way behind. So yeah, at that time, 2016, 17, trying to sell people to use Bitcoin for a real estate transaction was just way too early.
Man, that's crazy. So you would have been through a few cycles then. So were you just buying and stacking Bitcoin since like 2015, 2016? Did you go through
Yep.
the
Yep.
ICO,
Well, well, well.
ICO? Yeah.
Yep. Well, I wouldn't. Yeah. I was trying to get into everything because Bitcoin was actually kind of boring. Like I didn't want to just buy it and hold it. Like that was kind of boring. So I did kind of go through it. And at the time, I feel like it was so many coins, and I didn't really have time to like try to understand all of them. So I would just buy the top five, kind of like spread it out. I think it was like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and at the time, Ethereum was like I remember it was like silver. They called Bitcoin gold and Ethereum silver. So that's kind of how I started buying Ethereum a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much all I did. And like I said, I went through Coinbase. I found Coinbase. And I was able to buy I think they only had like three or four. So I would just buy a little bit of that, and that was really it.
At what point, what was it about it that got you red pill, do you think?
Really, really, when I was reading the old financial books, and they talked about like you could just see what's Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio was a guy that I learned a lot from. He taught a lot about the cycles, and he taught you a lot about the history of finance. And the business cycles. So if you go back to Rome, like the Rome days, if you go all the way back to that, you'll see like the dollar is very, very young, like it's only like 100 years old. So when you have that type of perspective, you know that okay, fiat, all fiat doesn't last. So okay, what's the next one? So I figured it was crypto. So like it made total sense to me. So yeah, and the Bitcoin Standard too is another book that I read that really helped me see. I think that was later on, but yeah, the Bitcoin Standard was a good one that really I was like, okay, this is easy to see.
Yeah, that was a good book. Yeah, I got red pilled probably similar fashion too. And then what about your NFT journey? What was your first NFT? Do you remember?
It's funny. My first NFT was actually Top Shots. Because
Of course it
I
was.
did DeFi. Yeah, I did DeFi Summer. So at the time, NFTs were like a liquid. I was like, I don't want to put my money in anything liquid. And I'm not a huge collector. I collected cards, like sports cards, but I wasn't like a collector and anything else. So I didn't think NFTs were for me. But like I say, once I saw Top Shots, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. This is good. So yeah, once I saw the announcement, I think it was probably like in like July, August of like 2020. I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait on this one. And when it dropped, yeah, I jumped on Top Shot, and it was cool too because it was going on around the same time the NBA playoffs. So what I would do was I would watch the game, and when I seen like a really cool play from one of my favorite players, I would try to find a little Top Shot. And of course, LeBron James were a lot of them. So I really bought a bunch of LeBron James and Anthony Davis Top Shots, and that was my first introduction to NFTs.
It's crazy. That was a crazy time, man. I remember those packs. I mean, I couldn't even get in. You had to wait in a waiting room for like hours and refresh the screen, and then if you were lucky, you could buy a few packs. They were fun times. Do you know how they're doing now? Or Well, why do you think Top Shots are where they are now? I'm assuming they're not as strong as what they used to be, but
Yeah, for me, like I said, coming from DeFi, what the reason why I sold my Top Shots was because I didn't like the Flow blockchain. Like once I started digging into like Ethereum and understanding, the openness of it and how it works, I was like, yeah, the Flow blockchain to me is not really crypto. This is not like the ethos that crypto is all about. Because Flow was like a very closed blockchain. Like it was good for onboarding. Like it was easy to use, but to me it wasn't like a real crypto. So that's kind of why I sold. Like when I was buying the Top Shot, I wasn't buying it to like make money. I was just having fun. But once I understood the flow of the blockchain, I was like, this is not really what I want. And it just so happened when I went back to all my cars, they were like going crazy. So that's kind of why I sold. I really wasn't selling to make money. I was just selling because I didn't like the way that the blockchain flow was going. So that's why I think it doesn't do good is because the flow blockchain is too closed.
yeah. And you mentioned a little bit about Ethereum values, and yeah, can you talk a little bit more about that? What sort of attracted you to Ethereum?
Yeah, just the ethos, the openness. Um just just creating a fair I guess network for anybody to join and be a part of, and like I said, the openness of it, that's kind of what crypto is about. Like it's like creating a whole new world for everybody. And that's why I got into crypto, because I don't want to create the same world that we're in now. um I want to create a world that's more fair and more open, and allows more creativity and that type of stuff. So, I mean, that's why I got into crypto in the first place.
Yeah, same here. And I think it's interesting to, for me to ask those questions. I think when I'm speaking to a lot of punks, I think we all share very similar values that's closely aligned to Ethereum, as punks in some ways. Um, the concept of decentralization and crypto and open and fairness, all those things that you sort of mentioned as well. So, I think in some ways punks are very aligned to ETH, and I guess I always say punks are ETH. We price everything in ETH anyway. And so from NBA Top Shots, so DeFi Summer, and then NBA Top Shots. Then what next? What was your NFT journey?
Then the next one for me was actually art blocks. Yeah. One of my buddies told me about art blocks, and I saw it and I didn't get it because, like I said, I'm not a collector at the time. I wasn't into art. So the stuff that I was seeing, I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. But I was in all the Telegram groups from DeFi Summer, and everybody was trading them. So yeah, that's kind of when I started to get into the NFT more so. Just like it was crazy. That the art box was crazy at the time. So I jumped into a little bit of that. But like I said, it really wasn't for me. Like I'm not a trader like that. But I did, participate a little bit. And then the next one was Bored Apes. That's kind of what got me because the first NFT meetup was in Venice, and I went to it. And when I went to it, I was like, wow, okay, I understand NFTs now. Like it's all about community, because the community was really different, and it was at a time when we were all, like we were all in the house. So just to be able to go out and talk to people about, crypto and all that stuff was like super exciting. So the energy was like crazy. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like I got to get me a Bored Ape. So while I was there, I actually got on my phone and I got my first Bored Ape. Actually, when I got home, I went home that night after the meetup in Venice. I think it was the first one. I went there and I bought the Bored Ape, and I think at the time it was like around 4 or 5 ETH, which was crazy expensive to me in dollar terms, but it wasn't too bad in ETH terms because I was able to get ETH when it was pretty cheap. So the only way that I could stomach it was looking at it, in ETH terms, not dollar terms. And right when I got it, that's when everything went super crazy, and then that's what really got me hooked to NFTs. It got me hooked.
That was a crazy run. I think everyone shits on, I guess, Bored Apes right now, but I think when we go back into the history books, I think it was really
Hmm.
that transition that Bored Apes brought to the table around utility and community really amped and hyped everything up. Right, the engagement was unreal. I, I remember when they first came out as well. I just jumped on Twitter, and then it felt like everybody was changing their profile picture to a Bored Ape. Um, and I was just going, "What the hell are all these things?" Everyone's just like posting all these weird, ape JPEGs, and had to sort of dig in a little bit too. And lucky I did. But so after you bought that Bored Ape, were you engaging with the Bored Ape community much? Because I sort of feel like there was a natural fit from the NBA Top Shot community that transitioned and moved into the Bored Ape community. I sort of feel like they were the sort of the same crew.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, once I got into the Bored Apes, I was definitely engaging. That's kind of like when I first really started getting like meeting people on Twitter for the first time. Like if I saw your Bored Ape, I was like, cool, I can actually connect with somebody on Twitter for the first time because we have something similar. And then not too long after is when like a bunch of the celebrities and football players and a lot of those guys were starting to, get into Bored Apes, and I think it was on like, the late night shows, and so it was definitely a crazy time. But yeah, I really connected with that community, and like I said, for me, NFTs was just all about community. That's kind of why that's why I got into it. It was for the community. I didn't think much of it. I really didn't think the price would go crazy like it did. Had no idea. I was just buying into a community because I never had that aspect of this space, I guess. Like I never had the community aspect. It was just me, on my computer, on Twitter. So to actually meet people in real life, and have that aspect was crazy. And like I said, it was during the time. I think the time had a lot to do with it because everybody was like locked in. So all that energy being like stored up, and we all get to meet and talk. I think that had a ton to do with the rise of the Bored Apes for sure.
Did you were you hanging out on Discord in the BAYC Discord and things like that? Where were you mostly
I
hanging
was
out?
in there, but I wasn't in there a ton. I wasn't in there a ton. Yeah, I wasn't in there a ton. But yeah.
Yeah, because there was a few athletes that bought in, right? I mean, it was crazy at the time. I think Steph Curry got one. I think Shaq got a mutant at one stage.
One of my now my actually my homie Von Miller, he got one. And that's when, I talked to him about it quite a bit. And I was like, bro, how are you like how do you know about this space? Like how are you getting, how are you getting all these NFTs? Because he was real heavy in the NFTs and he bought a bunch of them. So like Vaughn and I saw Des Bryant was buying. Well, he was like one of the first to get it, but Vaughn was the one that I know that I connect with that was getting into the space.
Is he still in, or is he just stopped
Nah,
DJing?
not really. Yeah, not really. He's still I haven't talked to him in a while, but he still has his NFTs, but he's not in the space uh like that anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was a super fun time. And then what was your transition into punks? Like, when was that? How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, once I got my board ape and I understood the community and I could meet people, because like I said, I really enjoy like going to different conferences and going around meeting people. Like NFT NYC. I was like, I want to get all the NFTs so I can, go to all the different parties. And so at the time, I was trying to get, all pretty much all every NFT I could get. So I was Moonbirds, uh, I was Doodles. I mean everything. At the time it was crazy, man. So I was trying to get into everything, but I wasn't able to get into the punks. Um, for whatever reason, the punks at the time were super quiet too, and I didn't know any punks. I think I met a few, but I didn't really know any punks. And then that's when the the Bored Apes and the punks kind of started, like a battle or whatever it was. I don't like on Twitter they were like, you know how it was. It was like a battle. So once that kind of started happening, I was like, you know what? I'm a Bored Ape. I can't be a Bored Ape and a punk. Um, so I kind of rode with the Bored Apes, and then it started going crazy, and then everybody was like, oh, the Bored Apes are, the fun ones, and the punks are like the older guys or the whatever. And that I didn't. I just never went over to try to get a pump. And then everything kind of started crashing. I'm like, oh snap. Uh, and I was like, shoot, I got to figure out how to get a pump. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to figure out how to get a punk when I can. So I just kind of like eyed it, and I feel like the best time to get one was I think I got my punk last summer in like August. So yeah, I mean, and like I said, I like the punks. Like I like what they're about. I've always liked what they're about. Because the people in the community are super super cool, super interesting people. So I've always knew I wanted to get a punk, and I know what people always said about the punks. I just couldn't cross over quite yet because I was a bored ape, and it got too expensive at one point. So uh, once once the summertime came and I was able to get one, I started looking, uh, and I found one that I liked, and I went with it.
That's so interesting. Maybe if we can just go back a little bit to can you just share a little bit about what you remember around the BAC and the punks beef? Um,
Um, I just remember a lot of the guys that I kind of followed from like DeFi Summer. A lot of those guys had pumps, and they used to would talk so much junk about bored apes, and I'm like, why are y'all talking so much junk about bored apes? Like, because I really didn't care, right? Like, I wasn't really picking sides, but for whatever reason, it was kind of like a battle, and because I really love the community, Bored Apes. I just had fun with it. I was like, and then the Bored Apes were having all the cool parties, and like I said, all the celebrities were getting the Bored Apes. It was just a fun time to be a Bored Ape. So for me, it was just like either or. But like I said, I don't know what that was about because I never, I never was really about that. It was just a lot of the people that I knew and kind of were around like during the old days, the DeFi summer days. They wanted to pick a fight with the Bored Apes. So that's what it was.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's just such a to see the rise of Bored Apes too. And look, I came in through Bored Apes first as well before a punk. But I mean, I had probably a deeper sort of affinity with punks. But I do remember, you know, just watching the Bored Ape sort of rise. That people had one of these everydays showing that me bits and Bored Apes were getting into some beef, right? That and, I think, Bored Apes were sort of the new up and comer, and they were sort of benchmarked against Meebits, right, in terms of floor price, and I don't think that had flipped Meebits at that sort of stage. And obviously they flipped Meebits and I guess just the, momentum just started building for Bored Apes. Guy Osiri came on board and, as you sort of said, all the celebrities started coming and the floor places just started ripping, and then I I think some of the Bored Apes might have got super confident and started dissing Punks a little bit. I think it was just more like, we're gonna flip Punks, and I think Punks was always like, you know, the marquee or the target to really try and flip as that sort of benchmark. And sure enough, they finally flipped Punks, which got a few Punks salty. But also at the same time, Punk's got a little bit salty at Matt and John too, right? Just like, well, we're sitting back, not doing anything, not getting much utility, and Bored Apes are getting mutants, they're getting other side land, and basically getting their bags filled, right, with ape coin and all sorts of stuff. And I think as a punk holder on the other side, you'd be like, why aren't we getting any of that, right? So I could sort of see some of that going through, some of that animosity. But yeah, that was crazy fun times. And then the question that I have for you is like, at what point did you decide to flip over? Like, I mean, because you said that you were rolling with the apes or the BAYC for some time, and there would have been some loyalty there through the relationships that you've built and the identity that you've built.
You re-
At what point did you decide to sort of flip over to the punk, and what sort of drove that decision?
yeah, I think a lot of the original people that were in punks or that were in Bored Apes at first. I think a lot of those people kind of left. And like I said, once the bear market kind of came, it was just a different vibe. Like I said, I got into the community. I got into Bored Apes for the community, and it was just different. I don't know. I didn't feel like I fit anymore for whatever reason. So I kind of had that feeling for a while, and I was like, man, what? I don't know. And and when I would go places like even on Twitter, like what punks were saying were like resonating with me more. So I was like, okay, I gotta. I think I'm more of a punk, right now. So that's kind of why I decided to jump over to the punks, and then I had my Bored Ape and my punk. I had them both at the same time. And then once I got over to the punks, and then the Bored Ape floor kind of started. That's when it really started going down. I sold my Bored Ape before before the flip. Like I wanted to get in before it flipped, and then once I got in, it really started going down. So I don't know. I think the Bored Ape community, it just I don't know. It wasn't the same anymore. Um, and I resonated more with the crypto punk people because I guess I'm more of a laid back, chill, introspective type of guy. And the Bored Apes are more, they're a little bit different. They're more outgoing, I guess you could say, or extroverted, I guess, or and just different. And I vibe more with the crypto punks. Like I said, I'm a low key guy, so uh, I vibe more with the punks right now. So
No, I feel you. I feel you in that. And yeah. I'm glad you made the jump for sure. Um, eh, and can we talk about Punk853 in particular now? Can you talk us about your purchasing decision on 853? Like, how long were you sort of looking? Which traits were you sort of looking at? Like, how did you end up with 853 with the mustache, knitted cap, and regular shades?
I was probably looking for like a month or two. Um, Punk OTC. Well, I reached out to a couple of punks. But yeah, Punk OTC helped me. And actually, I wanted the crazy hair, the red hair punk, because it kind of stood out. So that's kind of the one I wanted. And I was looking. He helped me. He reached out to a couple of people. And I found one that I liked, and then we got in contact with the owner, and he told me to put in a bid or something, and I put in the bid, and he was like, "Okay, I'll accept it. I'll let you know when I accept it." And then somebody came up and sniped it, and I was like, "Man, that's the one I wanted." Because I was looking at the floor, like I was trying to find something closer to the floor that could fit me. So once that one got sniped up, I was like, okay, I gotta find another one. So it took me a while to find one, and I wanted one to kind of look like me. So the glasses, I like the glasses. The glasses were cool. Like I, I like to think I'm like cool and laid back, chill. So the glasses kind of fit me. And then I remember I had a mustache since I was like 13 or 14, and that's super punk. Mustache is super punk. So I was like, so let's go with the mustache. And then the cap, uh, like I said, it's orange like a basketball. So I was like, okay, let's go with the cap. And then of course I know a couple of I know a couple of caps. So it was cool to like I think Derek, uh, he has one and then you have one. I think G Money has one. So I'm pretty familiar with all the knitted cap guys. So I was like, cool, let's go with that one. It looks like me. It feels like me. So let's do it. So I was able to snag that one. It was kind of close to the floor. I was watching it, and then it dropped some more. So I was able to get that one.
Nice. No, he's super clean, and you know me, I'm a big fan of the knitted cap and the mustache. And if money wasn't an issue for you, what would be your dream punk? Do you think?
On Dream Punk, I really don't. I was. I guess I really like the. I guess I like the alien punks. I like the green. I think Gordon actually got a really cool punk that I like. But I mean, I had the one I have now, man. I think I'm good with that one, bro. Like I think I'm good with that one. I
Perfect.
like the one I have.
And maybe just come back a little bit too around. I think I forgot to sort of ask you a bit more about art blocks, but what sort of art blocks pieces were you sort of collecting back then? And are you still collecting sort of art, NFT art?
Um, the only I was then I just traded a few. I just got in and got out. Was whenever there was like a drop coming out. So, but the only art block piece I have now is a squiggle. I have a squiggle. And I recently got that one. I'm gonna say it early this year. So I wouldn't say I'm an art block guy, but I do all the pieces that I like or super expensive, like the Fidenzas. That's probably one art block piece I wish I could have. Um, so I like the Fidenza. That's really the only art block uh, piece that I really connect with for the most part.
Gotcha. But because we did meet at I think it's Aston Cloud's collector's corner
Yep.
meetup after Punk's brunch. But are you collecting any other art? Like I think you started talking about you're a big Opepen guy. Is there anything else that you're sort
Yep.
of big into?
I really love Opepen and Checks with Jack and Jaleel. They're probably one of my favorites in the space. So I love Opepen. I have some Opepen. Like I said, Checks. I think Checks is super undervalued. It's a really cool project that a lot of people don't really look into. But I I have a lot of little NFTs. Like I have a ton of NFTs. But now I'm more so into the consumer stuff. So I really like what Derek does with like what's it called, E30 glitch, the glitch farm. What they do, the consumer stuff, and I really like Meta Street. Meta Street is right up my alley. With the like the loans of the NFTs. That's
So
very
you
similar to.
so just for that, just to be clear, so you're talking about Derek Edwards, right, from Club
Yep,
Currency, Glitch Martha.
yep. Glitch Morpher. Yep. I love everything he does with currency. So I just really like the consumer side. I like non DCC. You know, the fashion. Like I really into anything that can get more people into the space. That's really what I'm about right now. I want to figure out how to get like all my friends, all the people that I talk to every day, what can I do to get them into the space? So anything in that area, the consumer that can get them into the space. So that's why I really like the fashion aspect, um, and Opepen and checks. So
Did you know that you just mentioned projects from all from that were made from all CryptoPunks? So Opepen,
yeah,
Jalil,
yeah.
was that
Yep.
intentional? Was that intentional, or is that just by luck?
Nah, that's why I say that's why I like punks, man. Because I just really enjoy what you know. That's how I know
Yeah,
I'm right. I'm be right on mix. I enjoy what they build. You know, punks are builders, so I
yeah,
try to follow the builders.
absolutely. So yeah, I mean, Derek from Club Currency is a punk. You mentioned 9DCC, which is G Money, and you mentioned Meta Street as well, which is David Choi. All punks, man. Amazing set of punks that are building. Cool. And then if we turn to the community side, and I know you said you're a big community guy, who would you say would be your favorite punk personalities in the space?
Oh, you know what, man? I would say you. I would say you because I listen to I listen to I've been listening to your podcast for a year, over a year, and I don't think I heard anybody say you, man. So I want to give you your flowers, bro, and I want to say you're probably one of my favorites, man, because I learned a lot from you. I listened to you for a whole year before before I decided to get a punk. So I would say
Oh
you're
wow.
probably one of my favorite personalities, man, for sure.
Oh man, I'm super honored and grateful that a
Yeah,
pro
bro.
athlete has such nice things to say, and somebody actually listens
Yeah,
to the
bro.
podcast.
Yeah, bro. Podcast is great, bro. I try to, put all my friends on this podcast, man. Like listen to these people, man. These are some really cool, interesting people from all over the place, all kinds of backgrounds. So yeah, man, this is a great podcast.
Amazing, thank you so much. Any sort of favorite interviews or punk personalities out of there that you enjoy listening to, or that come to mind?
I can't think of any off the top of my head because bro, I've tried to listen to all of them. I haven't been able to catch the last couple. But I can't think of anyone off the top of my head because I've listened to them pretty much all, man. Uh, and they're all are good because they're all different and they're all just very unique. Everybody's super unique. It's really really cool.
That's cool. Oh, appreciate it so much. And then, if you had to describe punk culture in a few words, how would you describe that?
I would say visionaries, builders. Yeah, visionary builders.
And how do you feel about V1 punks?
I really don't have an opinion about V1 Punks. I don't really know much about them. I have, I know the story, but I really don't have a opinion on the V1 Punks. I've never met a V1 Punk before. So or somebody who only has a V1 Punk or talks about V1 Punk. So I don't know a ton about them.
What about the acquisition? When that happened, were you still a bored ape, or were you a punk by then?
Yep, I was a Bored Ape, and I thought it was pretty funny because everybody was so upset, and I thought it was like I said, I was a Bored Ape, so I thought it was pretty funny. But I don't, like I said, I don't really think it changes the value of punks. I really enjoy what they're doing. I know they're getting a lot of flack, but uh, I'm on the other side of like like they're trying to bridge the gap, and I think that needs to be done. But it's like I said, it's very hard to do to keep everyone happy and to not touch the punks or create any type of utility around it. But uh,
What do you think Yuga could do? I mean, in your eyes, or from what does good look like for CryptoPunks? What would you like to sort of see happen? I know there was that Nina Chanel drop, and but
yeah, I enjoyed the Nina Chanel drop. I mean, I wasn't really a fan of the actual the work. Like I didn't really like that, but I still feel like you need to, it had anything to do with the punks. So to me, it's just a way to figure out how to get more people to see punks and to uplift the punk brand. Seeing a TradFi artist who's creating art and kind of representing for the punks. So that's kind of how I saw it. I mean, I guess anything that they do is going to get scrutinized because people, for whatever reason, they don't like Yuga. So some people, it don't matter what Yuga does. They're still gonna complain or be super loud because they just don't like Yuga for whatever reason. But I mean, it's it is what it is.
I keep telling Natalie as well, like it's a thankless job that she's got. Right,
Yep.
you doomed if you doomed if you do, and you doomed if you don't.
Yep.
But I think with the Nina Chanel drop, and I'm sort of with you. I'm net supportive of trying new things and breaking things and testing things out. And similar to you, I probably wasn't a fan of the artwork, but I think I love the intent behind it, right? Because I think Nina's just sort of ticked all the boxes. I mean, coming from trad art world, is successful, established. Potentially could have brought a lot more eyeballs into the space onto punks that were sort of potentially seeing punks as a serious art collection in some ways in that caliber, right? It's just a bit of a shame in terms of how that all turned out. But I will say one thing though. I think it was just more also about you spoke a lot about Web3 ethos earlier on, and I think one of the things that came out about the Nina Chanel job was the terms and conditions that sort of came out with buying the NFTs, right? Basically, if you don't pay the royalties, we're basically going to come and sue you. And that was a very the wording was very draconian, and I could sort of see why that didn't sit well. But also coming from an official punks Twitter handle as well. It just felt a little bit off, So and I always sort of ask people like, if you were to see the CryptoPunks Twitter brand or persona in a nightclub or a bar, what would they be like? How would you describe them? And I don't think that they would be, necessarily selling you stuff all the time, right? And I think that's sort of a subtle nuance on that, and I can sort of see the equation on both sides there. Um, uh, yeah. But not to sort of discourage anybody from building anything for punks. I think Natalie and the team have done a fantastic job.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
but but how do you feel about punks right now? Like, I mean, the market's sort of tanking. Punks are sort of free falling a little bit. I think the floor price is around 30 ETH. How are you sort of feeling about everything and the state of affairs at the moment?
Yeah, I don't really pay too much attention to the price of punks. I mean, I see it. I mean, I see it on the timeline and stuff. But I mean, I feel great. I mean, right now to me is a good time to try to figure out how to get a lot of my friends into the space. I've told quite a few people about punks. It's definitely much harder talking about it when when the punk price is super high. So I mean, this to me this is a great time that you should be talking about punks and you know saying what punks is all about, and because this is a good time to get in. So that's kind of how I see it. The same people that I see are still around. Like it wasn't like the board apes where I started seeing a ton of people leave. Like I don't see anybody leaving. Like I see the sales, but I still see the same people in the Telegram chat. I still see the same people. So long as the same people are here and we're bringing, new people in, I don't really. It's cool with me. Punks are still cool.
Amazing. Yeah, I think a little bit more stable and solid, I think, with most of the holders. So we're all good there. And if you could pass on a message to the next owner of your Punk853, what would you like to say to them?
I don't ever plan on selling. Hopefully, I can hold on to my guy Flick, and pass him down to my kids and stuff. But if I had to say anything, I would say just keep them cool.
Keep them cool. Perfect. Well said. Look, this is super fun, man. Really appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast, and hopefully we can reconnect at one of these events in the future. But I guess any final closing comments, and what's the best way for people to find you?
I'm on Twitter, Capital Swish, FLCK. That's where I'm at. And yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. It's an honor to be on this podcast. Yeah, man, thanks.
Perfect. Guys, that wraps up another episode of PunkCast for the week, and we'll be back next week with another punk. Bye for now.